This presentation is on essay vocabulary notes. You are responsible for knowing everything in this presentation, so please write down any questions you have. As you know, or might know, there are three basic parts of an essay. There's an introduction, there are body paragraphs, or there might only be one, and then you have your conclusion. So in the next slides, we are going to define the parts of the introduction, the parts of the body paragraph, and the parts of the conclusion, and you are responsible for knowing these terms and knowing how they progress in each paragraph. So the first paragraph is the introduction, and there are three parts. There's the hook, there's the background, and there is the thesis. These three things will go in this order for the purposes of this class. The next part of the essay is the hook, and this is where you would grab your reader's attention. This is usually one sentence, and you can grab your reader's attention in 5 different ways. You can start with a startling piece of information. You can have a story that's related to the topic of your essay. You can create a question. You can find a quote, or you can define a term that people are not familiar with. These examples are from an essay about drunk driving. So we'll start with the startling piece of information, which says, according to the police, over 1,000 teens die each year as a result of drunk driving. So that's supposed to pull you in and make you wonder about why all these teens are dying. The next one is a story related to a topic. And this one says, last year, my younger brother was killed by a drunk driver. He was only 6 years old. The next one is usually the easiest type of hook because you just create a question related to the topic. So here it says, have you ever been tempted to drink and drive? The next one, you might go online and find a quote related to the topic. This one says, a wise man once said, if you drink and drive, it is an automatic death sentence. And then the last one is just defining a term that might not be familiar to your reader. And here we've defined alcoholism. The next part of the introduction is the background. And the background gives some information on your topic or the characters or the conflict in the story. And this is very important if you're writing about literature. In this background sentence, you must include the author and the title of the story. So on the test, I might say, what are 2 things you must include in the background if you're writing about literature? And your answer will be the author and the title of the story. The very last part of the introduction, this background is usually about 2 sentences. You don't want to go too much longer. And the very last part of the introduction is the thesis sentence. And for some people, this is the hardest thing to understand, but once you understand how the thesis works, it becomes very easy to write your essay. So this is the most important sentence in your essay, and this is the controlling idea of your essay and where you say what you're trying to prove and what your opinion is. So if this sentence is not written correctly, and if it doesn't guide the essay, your whole essay is incorrect, because the purpose of the thesis is to basically provide a roadmap for what you will be talking about in your essay. So this is an example thesis sentence. Harry Potter teaches a lesson about valuing friends, while Ant stresses the importance of teamwork. Now, the prompt for this essay was discuss 2 movies that teach a lesson. So now reading this thesis sentence, I know that this essay is going to be about how Harry Potter teaches about valuing friends and how Ant stresses the importance of teamwork. You don't see this thesis sentence saying, in my essay, I am going to talk about. So you never want to say that in an essay. That is incorrect. Here's another example of a thesis sentence. My father is my biggest influence because he was the first to graduate from college in my family. He works hard to support his children, and he is a survivor. So now I know when I read this essay about this person's father, these are the three things they're going to be talking about: how he graduated from college, how he works hard to support his children, and how he is a survivor. If the essay is going on to other topics, then this thesis is not guiding the essay. I already know what the essay is going to be about when the thesis is written. So once you become more comfortable writing the thesis and seeing how it works within your essay, your writing will improve. So this is just a little more information on the thesis sentence. Usually it's a controversial sentence because you're arguing one way or another. It's very specific. You're trying to avoid vague words, and you're going to include a claim, arguments, and sometimes as you improve your writing, you might have a counter in there, counterclaim. And it's usually only one sentence. If it's more than one, you're getting too far ahead of yourself. Okay, so just to review, your introduction is a hook, a background, and a thesis sentence. Now we're going to move on to the body paragraph. And there is a specific format for this paragraph. Now, some of you are used to writing 5-sentence paragraphs, maybe when you were in 3rd grade and you continued on writing those 5-sentence paragraphs. But this paragraph structure we will be working with is 8 specific sentences. So this is the format. This is the pattern of the sentences. And on the next slides, we are going to define all of these words. The body paragraph is where you give your reader examples and it provides insight to those examples. Topic sentence first. We're going to talk about what a concrete detail is. We will talk about commentary, and you see that concrete detail comes back again. Then you have 2 commentary sentences, and then you have a conclusion sentence. This is all one paragraph with 2 examples. The first part is the topic sentence. And this is the sentence that expresses the main idea of your paragraph. Next, we have something called a concrete detail. And it's important to pay attention to these abbreviations, CD, because sometimes we will only be using the abbreviations and you'll need to know what they mean. So a concrete detail is basically an example sentence that gives you facts to support the topic sentence. This is your example. So you'll have your topic sentence, then you will give an example. Next, you have commentary. And this is a sentence that supports the concrete detail. You're giving insight, reflection, and opinion on the example you just gave. So you have a topic sentence, you give an example, and then in 2 sentences, you explain your example. Finally, the last sentence in the body paragraph is a conclusion sentence. And this is the last sentence in the paragraph, and it gives the paragraph a finished feeling. It might begin with, as you can see, or as a result, and that will be the conclusion of your paragraph. The last paragraph is the conclusion paragraph, and this is an opportunity to wrap your essay into a tidy package and bring it home for your reader. It is a good idea to repeat what you said in your thesis statement, so you need to go back to that first sentence in your last paragraph, and this is to suggest to your reader that you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish. So next, we're going to go over the 3 parts of the conclusion. The first part of the conclusion is where you will rephrase or restate your thesis. You will just go back to your thesis sentence, which is the last sentence in your first paragraph, and you'll either repeat it exactly or you will say it in a different way. Once you start becoming more comfortable, it will be easier to say it in a different way. But if you're not comfortable, just repeat the exact same sentence. The next thing you want to do is summarize the main points you made in your essay. The last thing you want to do is to have a finished feeling statement. And this finished feeling statement signals to the reader that your essay is finished. And it can be something that the reader can learn from the characters if it's about literature. It can give advice related to the topic, or it could explain the moral of the story. So, this is just a basic format. Hook, background, thesis is the introduction. Then this is one body paragraph. So you have your topic sentence, you have your example, then you have two sentences explaining it, then you have your next example, and you have two sentences explaining it. And sometimes you might have a third example and you have two sentences explaining it. And then you will have your conclusion sentence. The last one is the conclusion paragraph, where you restate your thesis, you summarize the main points, and then you have your finished feeling statement where you wrap the essay up. Some additional vocabulary words you're responsible for. A chunk is one concrete detail and two commentary sentences. So sometimes I will tell you to write a two-chunk paragraph, and that is just one paragraph with two examples, but for every example, you have to have two commentary sentences. Sometimes I'll ask you to write a three-chunk paragraph, and that is one paragraph with three examples, and for each example, you will have two commentary sentences. Next, we have tone, and that's just the general feeling of the essay. Is it going to be formal? Is it informal? Is it friendly? And the last one are transitions, which move the reader from one idea to the next. An example is additionally, moreover, furthermore, and you'll use these words to transition from one example to the next example. I'm also giving you some other key phrases that you might put in your essay. When you're introducing evidence, you have some examples like, in the words of, according to the author, for example. So you don't want to use for example every single time. You want to kind of mix it up. Next, to explain or elaborate on information. So this is your commentary. So you might use furthermore, you might use as a result, you might use in other words. To disagree, here's the list: in contrast, however, despite, although. And then to summarize, overall, as shown above, in essence, in short, in conclusion. So these are transition words you can use in your essay. These are some important points. You will never ever say, in this essay, I will be writing about, or some even start an essay off with, hi, my name is. That is not correct. Next, you will make sure your background has an author and a title if it is about literature. And the last one, the finished feeling statement, can say what the reader can learn about the characters. It can give advice related to the topic and explain the moral of the story.